The cryptocurrency industry moves at such a fast pace that it can be difficult to see the big picture. Dramatic price movements, big personalities, regulatory moves, and instances of fraud can easily cause a rather myopic perspective. But as the industry and the technology that powers it continue to evolve, it's more important than ever to take the long view. Blockchain industry insiders must remain aware of the threats and opportunities that are headed for the industry, and as such, must hold on to the ability to make long-term decisions as tightly as possible. Michael Bancroft, host of Beyond Innovation on Bloomberg TV, recently spoke with finance magnates about his perspective on cryptocurrency and blockchain technology from his bird's eye view at the top of the tech world. So, Michael, can you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your professional journey and how you got involved with Beyond Innovation?
Yeah, Beyond Innovation is a technology and innovation show that's global in scope, and we basically travel all over the world. My co-host and I, Anthony Lacavira, and we are talking to founders and entrepreneurs and inventors and researchers, really, who are developing the next big thing, things that are going to change our lives for the better. And it delves into the most exciting technological innovations coming to market and really transforming our world for the better. And we travel all over the world, as I said, multiple cities, everywhere from London to Hong Kong to San Francisco, really trying to find those innovators doing amazing things. And I actually started in general news as a journalist, and then it kind of evolved into business journalism, and I went and did an MBA in finance, and I got very interested in entrepreneurship and founders and people going out and creating businesses and really doing things just because they wanted to. And it was a very unique experience to start interviewing these people and seeing, it's like the question I'd ask, why are you doing this? And they say, why not? And I guess that's, really how our world changes and evolves, especially in technology. People show up and invent things and then bring them to market.
Yeah, so can you talk to us a little bit about what you've seen in your time as a financial journalist and as a professional about the impact of blockchain technology and cryptocurrency on different kinds of industries? Where do you really see blockchain taking hold at this moment in time?
There's so many different places I think we're going to see blockchain technology kind of be used, and I think that's the most important thing. So blockchain companies are a different story from crypto miners, and it's the technologies they are developing are fundamentally valuable and are being pursued by some of the biggest players in healthcare and financial services, and I think that's important. So it's the underlying technology themselves, and we're also seeing potential changes even in places like the media with blockchain. So there's interesting developments I've seen with media content, such as TV and film productions are funded and distributed in the not too distant future by blockchain. I think that we're going to see it being used to organize and track funds that have been raised for a film production and the payment of royalties after it's released. And these things are very difficult. And these arrangements are often very complex and multifaceted and could use more transparency. So I see blockchain technology and the application of blockchain being used in places that we really haven't seen before. But one of the key trends I think we're going to see unfold, especially for 2019, is the increasing standardization and I guess like the interoperability of blockchain networks. And I think that's going to be the most interesting as we see that the technology evolve.
Okay, so essentially you think that blockchain is going to be more important in the long run than cryptocurrency itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that because of the transparency, because of the security that it's able to offer in transactions, and I think that that's going to be used. It's going to make things a little bit faster than the way things are done today. And I think that is probably the most interesting application across all industries as opposed to cryptocurrency. I think that the blockchain technology, once people find the solutions there and the applications there, I think that's going to be more valuable in the long term.
And you mentioned interoperability across different blockchain networks. Can you just give me kind of a practical picture about what that might look like you were saying, maybe in the entertainment industry? Will there be kind of one blockchain for all these different sectors of the entertainment industry, or how will that work?
Yeah, I think that in the short term we're going to see individual blockchains,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. But I guess you would liken this to it's similar to what we've seen with smartphone operating systems. So a handful of blockchain operating systems will emerge that will make seamless and secure data storage and distribution possible at a large scale.
Mm-hmm.
And different blockchains will need to understand how they each codify and store data in order to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why this interoperability is so important to the technology's mass adoption, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but realistically, as far as time is concerned, when do you think we could see a system that's actually functioning? Because I know there's a lot of sort of like little startup projects and even some larger projects that are trying to take root, but it's not really happening yet. When do you think
Yeah,
that
I
happen?
think that's I think that's the issue and that's the problem because basically it's the survival of the fittest. Because in the crypto mining industry right now, and only those with large mining operations and very low electricity costs will make it out alive in regards to crypto mining. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that has soured the sentiment in the industry. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot more difficult for companies to raise capital, and it's really going to be those ones that have a large amount of capital and had built in high profit margins that can weather the storm. And if
Mm-hmm.
they're able to weather the storm, they're able to do further research, develop the technologies, and then hopefully succeed on the other end. But it is going to be very difficult given the current state of the market and the sentiment towards crypto mining and cryptocurrencies, because I think that's the other thing. A lot of the general population don't fully understand the difference. They think blockchain is crypto as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the technology or the function of being able to create it. And so they're kind of lumping it all in together. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenges as well for those people trying to pioneer, this space. Many smaller crypto miners were only profitable, if you think about it, when prices were much higher and don't have the capital, as I said, to weather the storm. Some may be able to switch off their rigs and wait for the market to turn, but many will be like turning their lights off for good. And that's the scary part. So the bigger players, as I said, should manage because their margins are much more robust and they can afford to take a near-term hit. So they're the ones that are going to last, unless
Mm-hmm.
you're big companies and you have that R&D budget and you're able to build blockchain into some of your product offerings, which we are seeing by blue chip companies and different players around the world.
Mm-hmm. So, of the projects that you're seeing, the ones that have these the ability to make these long-term decisions and weather the storm, are there any projects that you're particularly excited about, or if not, then what are you looking for? What are the qualities that you would be looking for in a project that you think will last for the long term?
Yeah, so I'm not that excited. I haven't seen anything that's really gotten me excited in the blockchain space or cryptocurrency for that
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Yeah.
But what I do find interesting and what we're likely to see is blockchain, especially in the short term, being employed for cybersecurity. That is interesting because obviously cybersecurity is a huge concern. We have mass amounts of data, and it's very difficult to protect that. Currently, we've seen all of the media headlines and everybody going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It is something to be concerned about. So it's particularly, I think we're going to see the adoption by governments looking to secure important files and records, safe from hackers. I think that it was the government of Dubai, I think it was, has pledged to replace all of its systems with digital infrastructure based on distributed ledger technology. And I think it's by 2020. So
Okay.
that's very interesting that we see. And then governments will also begin to experiment with blockchain. Again, we've seen that in some countries around the world as a way to secure voting records to ensure transparency and legitimacy in the democratic process. And, again, especially given the fallout and allegations we've seen in parts of the world,
Mm-hmm.
that could be very interesting. But again, that also gives me a little bit of concern because I think that people believe or if you listen to what people are saying, they think that blockchain is the be all and end all and it's super safe and secure. And I don't think that's fully accurate because this the development and the potential to tremendously I think hackers is a problem. I don't think it's unhackable because one of the key benefits of cryptocurrency is the public blockchains are unhackable, being secured by I think it's the SHA-256 cryptography,
Mm-hmm.
which in theory would take conventional computers thousands of years to hack. But for example, imagine if quantum computing is able to scale up and get mass adoption and become cheaper and work. In theory, what took an average normal computer to do the algorithms or the mathematical equations or whatever it is could potentially take a quantum computer under a minute, whereas advanced computers of today, thousands of years to perform the same thing. So I think that it's a step in the right direction. It can be safe. It could be more secure than what we currently have, but we also can't be ignorant to the fact of our technology developments, that not everything is that safe, that secure. We're seeing that artificial intelligence. We're starting to see developments in artificial general intelligence, and that's where a computer becomes as smart and able to make decisions like a human. So again, when they crack that, we don't know whether that's 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, but again, that will open up, a whole nother set of problems that we currently don't have.
Yeah, a whole new set of threats to blockchain security. But these things are real threats. So quantum computing is a real threat to blockchain technology.
I think it absolutely could be. Quantum computing is a little tricky to explain because of how quirky the laws of quantum physics are as we understand them, but its potential impact can't be understated. Like, basically, in a nutshell, as I said, a quantum computer can access a very large number of possibilities at once and identify the most efficient or effective solutions given the end objective. So, IBM is already, doing a lot of developments with quantum computing, and it'll be interesting to see where they take that, because obviously, as I said, it's very expensive and the conditions have to be right and all that kind of stuff. So, they're looking at using the cloud. So that might be an answer. And we actually interviewed on Beyond Innovation Bob Suda, the VP of Quantum Solutions from IBM Research. And it was very interesting the way they were approaching developments and using the technology. So I think that, it's already been proven. It's not science fiction like everybody thinks, but it's very different to then scale and bring it to mass adoption and into the marketplace. But I do believe we're going to see that eventually in some form and capacity.
Right. So kind of on the other side of that, do you see blockchain projects, cryptocurrency projects that are being built already with quantum computing and artificial intelligence either integrated into themselves or kind of being built with the knowledge that these things could one day be a threat to blockchain security?
Well, I think pretty much every technology, anything to do with data, there's mass amounts of data. I think it's something like 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are created every single day. So companies have to sift through that data. If you're using blockchain or any of those transactions, it's a whole pile of data, whether it's a fintech or anything like that. So you're going to be using artificial intelligence to extract and pull using algorithms the parts of the data that you need to do the transaction. So I think that artificial intelligence is inevitable. It's being widely adopted and used, and it's going to make things more efficient, and people will be spending a lot of money on making sure that they're extracting the right data, because if that's age-old garbage in, garbage out. So you have to make sure you're getting the right data. And then, once you've done that in regards to blockchain, obviously that would obviously help in the whole kind of delivery of whatever blockchain solution you're trying to employ. Quantum computing, as I said, it's very early days. But I think the most important thing with quantum computing is it's not science fiction anymore. It is being used. Big companies like IBM are succeeding with great strides in the industry. And so, it only takes one or two players to get quantum computing right, artificial intelligence right, blockchain right, and connect the dots. But again, in a practical, useful scenario or solution that's obviously also cost effective.
I see. Well, Michael, thank you for this short and action-packed conversation. I think we've got a lot of material here. Are there any special announcements for you or for Beyond Innovation that you want to share? Where can our listeners find you if they want to hear from you?
Yeah, everything about Beyond Innovation you can check out on beyondinnovation.tv. You can also find us on all the social media handles. Lots of clips from amazing founders and innovators from all over the world. We talk to people, everywhere from Hyperblock and cryptocurrencies right through to blockchain being used to ensure that content creators are getting paid back. The coolest person I've spoken to so far to date was actually the CEO of Skyrise. And what was neat about that is it's basically a taxi in the sky. And the guy's name was Mark Gordon. And so it's basically autonomous air transportation. So if you're sick and tired of traffic on the ground, think of the infinite possibilities of not getting stuck in the air. And they're using technology to make autonomous vehicles in helicopters at the moment, and then in emergency service situations, which is really, really neat. But Beyond Innovation, you can check out every week on Bloomberg TV globally, and then Global Live Media on social media.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Michael.